I'm sweating.
I know.
I've never been nervous about this before. Whew. All right, here we go. Ready?
Right.
Past the fire, past the sounds. Moonshine through the clouds, saddle up, 'cause there's no stopping me now.
Hello and welcome
Hey, welcome.
Hi.
to another episode.
Living well together. Big life in a small town.
The smallest town.
We're here with somebody so special. You've known her since she was a little tiny girl.
Well, not tiny.
Well, I'd say
A
middle
younger
schooler.
person.
Yes.
Not a tiny girl. Honey's a tiny girl.
Honey's a tiny girl. That's right.
I'm not
Yeah.
that small.
Was,
No,
it,
this
was
was-
it 8th grade that you guys
Yeah,
met?
I'm thinking 8th grade, freshman
8th
year.
or 9th grade,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
As an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
Now
is
she's all grown up.
this is Dani Hoskinson.
Yeah.
But your maiden name is
Irvin.
Irvin. So
Yep.
Danielle Irvin. That's how I knew you. That's how I
Yep.
first got to find you on Facebook.
Yes.
Because we've known each other. You've known her for a long time.
A bit.
And I've known her since 2020.
Yes.
So
When we sought after her
crazy.
professional services.
yes, exactly. So
I am a
Dani-
photographer.
Which we will get to, yeah. Which we will get to.
a lifestyle photographer and one of the very best that I've ever seen. You
Aw,
have
thank
produced
you.
so many gorgeous shoots. I just can't even explain it, but we will share some of the photos. You shared some of them with me
Yes,
already, and I'm excited for everybody to see them too.
Thanks.
You want to share a little bit about how this started?
So yeah, I started in high school shooting. I wanted to do more of like fashion worlds, and I quickly discovered you can't really have a family. You have to live in a big
yeah.
city,
Yeah.
and your whole life has to revolve around that.
So you wanted to do photography around fashion?
So I wanted to do fashion, but the photography kind of fell into place with like a fashion website and like doing the blogs
Yeah.
and like the post and all that stuff. And then that's when I very quickly was like, yeah, this isn't for me. Like,
Right.
and then I met someone in the fashion world, and she just kind of like was like, yeah, like you won't have a life. And I was like, okay, well, that's not fun.
No,
So,
and it's good that you met her early.
Yes.
Instead of going down that path and then realizing for yourself, like, this is not what I thought I was
Yeah.
getting into.
yeah, so I met her pretty early on. So like I didn't get too far into it.
Yeah.
So like my heart wasn't 100% set on it.
Right.
And then I met her, and then I was like, all right, well, I really love doing the photo side of the blog and all that stuff. And I was like, I can do this, be my own boss, set my own hours,
Love
and
it.
still have like a family and all that good stuff.
Yes.
So I was like, all right, well, this is what I'm going to pursue. Thankfully, I was pretty young when I decided that.
And when did you? How
I was
old
going
were
to say,
you?
was that high school?
Yep, so sophomore year of high school. So that would have been...
Sophomore year.
I would have
That's
been
impressive.
17, I think.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, and then I shot my first wedding when I was 19. So,
What?
Yeah, that was very intimidating. But it was
Weddings
good.
Was it a family wedding or somebody, a friend? How'd they find you?
No, so I went to high school with this girl, and her sibling or cousin, distant cousin, was getting married. And they were like, hey, like, they're looking for someone really cheap. And I was like, I'm really cheap.
I'm your girl.
I was like, I have like
That was
no
the qualification.
experience.
Yeah.
I'll pay you to shoot your wedding.
Yeah. I mean, at that point.
Okay.
So I had about, I don't know, a year to prepare for this wedding.
Okay.
Had a ton of like second shooting experiences to like shadow with people who I like am familiar with, get to know their groove and just
Yeah.
understand. Before this, I only attended a wedding one time as a guest.
Oh.
So I wasn't really sure how like the whole wedding world was.
Even just as a guest.
Yeah. So I was
Wow.
pretty nervous.
Yes, I can imagine. So during that year, what did you do? You just kind of followed other photographers and kind
So
of
yeah. So that
wedding
was the plan.
vendors? Okay.
And then COVID hit. And then all of those brides were like, we're not going to get married this year.
Oh, my heck.
And I was
my
like,
gosh.
well, there goes all my experience.
Oh my goodness.
So I had, I think maybe one wedding before that was like a third shooter. And it was just a really fast, like
Yeah.
fast-paced small wedding.
Yeah.
Because they were just kind of push it through before everything got
Sure.
closed.
Yep.
So yeah, that was pretty intimidating. So I ended up hiring for the wedding I was hired for, hiring a very, very, very strong second, and we essentially
Okay.
tag teamed for the wedding.
Okay.
It was great.
Had she done other weddings in the
Yes.
past? Okay.
Yes, and I
So-
still keep in contact with her, and she's amazing.
Oh, I love
So
that.
she kind of just like was like chirping in my ear the whole day and was
Okay.
like, hey, like, this would be the best thing to this. And I'm like, hey, I'm open to anything.
Yes.
Like,
Yes, guide
give
the
me
way.
it all.
Is there not like a checklist? Like we want to get a picture of the bride and the groom. We want to get a
So-
picture of the mom and the dad. We want to get
Yeah,
a...
Traditional.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are your traditional photos. But outside of that, it's like wrangling people, making sure you're saying appropriate things to certain people. You know the backgrounds, because
Yeah.
I've gotten myself in a lot of trouble where like people didn't update me on like certain family histories.
Like
or-
changes
you can't
in
be in the
relationship.
same room at the same time.
Yeah, or you can't be in the same photo together. And then put them right next to each other.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, why did no one tell me that?
See, that's why you always put like boyfriends and girlfriends on the end.
Yep.
Because you
So
can cut
then
them
you
off.
can, yep. And I do one with, one without.
Yes, yes, yes.
And even saying that, even
Yeah.
just the way you phrase that.
Oh, yeah.
Billy, we don't know if you're going to be here next year, so we're going to put you on the end.
Yeah.
Or we're going to leave you out. You can
Yeah.
just take a seat.
Would you hold this bag?
Yeah, I need you
A
over here.
really important job for you.
Yeah. So it worked out. Everything went great.
Yeah.
The photos were great for
Yeah.
especially my first wedding. But definitely couldn't have done it without my strong second.
Yeah.
So I did. I was very thankful for that. And we still keep in contact. And
Love that.
she's great.
That's awesome. So tell me about CEO Magazine. What was your association with that?
Yes, I actually forgot about that. So they found me through a website called Thumbtack.
Okay.
I don't know if it's even still around.
Okay.
But
What
it's
is it?
kind of like a hire website where you
Oh,
can
yeah.
like say,
Okay.
oh, I'm looking for a plumber. But they have
Oh,
a
wow.
photographer on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she just happened to find one of my pages. I had like barely any photos on there. So I have no idea why she was like, oh, this teenager, she's qualified. I still don't really understand how that worked, besides it was a God thing.
I was going to say, I think God just has
Yeah.
providence over all that.
I don't even think I had like headshots on there yet.
Dear.
And this is going to be for headshots.
Yes.
Yes.
So I did it twice. First time I want to say was a junior in high school, so I would have been 18. So I shot that, and I had my mom come. She was my assistant.
I saw that
Because-
in your notes. I love these stories.
She was like, I'm not gonna let you go somewhere by yourself yet.
Yeah.
Because it's like you're with a bunch of strangers. Like, yes, it looks
Right.
like super like ritzy and like CEO magazine.
Yeah.
She's like, at the end of the day, you are still a teenager. Like,
That- that's called good parenting.
By the way.
I mean, nice job. That's
So yeah, she ended up coming, and I would just keep calling her my assistant. She'd like carry like 2 bags or something.
Oh, I love it.
So it was great. And I ended up slipping up once though, and I called her mom, and the lady was just like, "Is this your mother?" I was like, "Yeah, it is."
I'm proud of her. And we're a good team together. She knows me better than anybody.
Yeah.
The best assistant ever, right?
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah,
That
but-
is so cool. And so then what were those headshots were for businesses?
Yeah, so they were like featured in the magazine.
Okay.
It was the president of some college around here. I can't think of what it was.
you got a few.
Yeah, one of the bigger ones. So I went to her office. I did photos of her and her cabinet.
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't even know what a cabinet was. I thought it was, like a piece of furniture. Like, I had no idea. So yeah, I was just,
That's very cool. Well, that's a
Yeah.
whole other world, right? And
yeah.
the difference between a wedding and CEO headshots,
yeah.
big difference,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because you're trying to capture these really spontaneous moments in a lifestyle shoot, and the other
Yeah.
ones are a little bit more staged, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have a preference one way or the other?
Definitely weddings.
Yeah. Is that
Just
your favorite?
Because, yeah. And honestly, it's because I get to spend so much time with my clients versus like that. I didn't even know her before I showed up. Maybe we corresponded through email a few times with her assistant.
Right.
So I wasn't really talking to her.
Anyways, yeah.
And
Hard to get a good feel for who you're dealing with.
Yeah. So I just couldn't really like feel off her vibes and like figure out like she's gonna be more of like this kind of poser or that kind of poser.
Yeah.
I had no idea. So, but yeah, weddings are my baby. I definitely love it.
Yeah.
So.
And so through your own
That's where I want to go.
wedding
Your own
experience.
wedding. Let's get there.
Yeah, because if you love weddings now, you had your own wedding during this time. And
Yep.
did that help to form how you shoot weddings now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that was during the COVID lockdown situation, right?
Right after they opened. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
like
When
it
everybody was still terrified to breathe on
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah, it was still kind of like your venue decided on how much rules
Mm.
or no rules.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and they could flip like just like change it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So we were like, I don't know if it's gonna be a mask wedding, a maskless wedding.
Right.
If we're gonna have to separate the chairs.
Oh my gosh.
So-
No, it was so crazy. When did you guys get married? Was it 2022?
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got married December 2021.
Okay.
So right at the very end.
Yeah.
After that 2 weeks to stop
Yeah.
the spread.
Yep.
It's okay. It's all right, babe. It's all right.
2 years.
We can't get him going too hard. So
You may now not kiss the bride.
That would be funny.
and he was your first crush.
Yeah, so I've known him since we were little. We went on vacations together, and when we lived in Jersey, his parents would come and stay with us for a
Really?
week, and the whole family would come. And
So you guys
Yeah.
were like family, your families were friends? Oh
Yep.
my gosh, that is so sweet.
we kind of always knew we would end up together just
you?
because
Wow.
we both liked each other at such a young
Yeah.
age, and we worked out a summer camp together. And
Oh my gosh, that's
So-
amazing. That's so romantic.
thanks.
How did he propose to you?
So we were at Gervasi's in Ohio.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I love that place.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were just walking, and I was like convinced he was not going to propose.
Yeah.
Convinced. Because I was like, it's the day before Christmas. I was like, if he's going to propose, he's going to propose on Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And so we were just like aimlessly walking around. And I was like, we went to the Still House. I went there.
Yep.
So a really nice coffee shop.
Yeah.
And he doesn't drink coffee. So I was like, this is kind of weird. But I mean, maybe he's just trying to be sweet. You know, we have nothing else to do.
Because you like peppermint coffee, so maybe he
do.
just wanted to get you peppermint coffee.
I think I did that day. It was very huge and very pretty. So yeah, so I felt like we were aimlessly walking around, and then we reached this really pretty little bridge, and there's a little sign that said, "Will you marry me?" But that wasn't from him. That was from someone else.
So this is
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. And so but I didn't notice it until after he was down on his knee.
Oh, boy.
And then that's when I noticed. And then we're taking photos, and I turned and I see the sign. I was like, did you bring that? And
Cue
he's
cards.
Like, nope.
He just had to remember what to say.
But I was like, was that there the whole time? Like, I thought I was being like pretty like alert, you know?
So it was just random that this was there, and then
Yeah.
he's down there
Someone-
proposing in front of it?
Someone must have either really, really soon before or after
Oh
proposed.
my gosh, that is so
So
Some guy's stalling
you were
his girlfriend
totally
down the
shocked.
sidewalk. Like, babe, give me just a minute. This guy's in my way.
he's stealing my sign. So yeah.
Was it just you and him there, or did he have like family around?
Yeah, so my dad, he brought out his little Samsung Galaxy phone. It was snapping photos behind a pillar, like I wasn't gonna see him. But in his defense, I didn't see him until like after like he like stood back up, and I was like, oh.
Well, who does take the photos of the photographer? I mean, that's a
True.
legitimate question.
That's a legitimate question. Who does take the photos of the photographer?
Honestly, like for like our family photos, I set the timer, put it on the tripod, and I'm good.
Yeah, and you're good in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you didn't know this particular time
No.
was
No.
going to be one of those
No.
photo moments.
And I was still pretty early on shooting at that point too. So I wasn't really ready to commit paying someone to come shoot it. So
Yeah, but that's so sweet. And then so you guys got engaged, and then how long before you got married? Was it a longer engagement?
yeah.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where the whole wedding fiasco issue
Okay.
came in. 'Cause
Yes.
We were engaged for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. But we really wanted him to graduate
Yes,
before
you had a plan.
start. But then COVID came. So then his schooling kind of changed and long distance at that point. And so we essentially planned 2 weddings.
Okay.
First wedding we had to cancel because the venue went under. Oh, I had 3 other vendors who got pregnant and canceled their contracts with me.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, they're just dropping like flies out here. So it was just,
That is
it was
wild.
wild. Yeah,
So then you had to start from scratch.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we ended up moving it literally a day after. And we ended up getting a whole new venue. The poor parents lost a lot of money.
Oh no.
Because of the first venue was like, we're not giving your money back.
Because they went out of
want-
business.
They didn't have it.
They didn't have
Well,
it to
they're
give
still
back,
in
right?
business though.
Are they really?
Yeah, I was in the area last weekend and they were still kicking.
Danny.
Are we allowed to say their name?
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. Yeah, it was just a little pizzeria. It's just this really pretty Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
And they have like a really big like banquet hall. And they have like really pretty pillars in there. And it was just, it was really nice.
Yeah.
And then we found out through a newspaper. Because my grandma got a newspaper one day and was like, hey, did you see this?
Yeah.
And we were like, nope.
Oh boy.
And that's when you knew you couldn't have it there?
So at that point, it was our call. We could either cancel our contract with them or risk it. I'm not a risker.
yeah.
So I was like, as long as you're okay with that, like, we're going to pull out just because.
Right.
And it's a 3-hour away wedding because we
Okay.
lived here.
Yeah.
And then it was in the Canton area. So I was like, we have people traveling and like, that would be a lot
Yeah.
to figure out. And it's December, so we can't just like pick
Right.
a fairground or a
No.
park or something.
No, because you have weather to contend with.
Yeah.
Because we're in
so-
Ohio.
Especially in Canton.
Yes, yeah. So it was just wild with what we had and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
So you're putting a lot of last minute things in place.
Thankfully, since it was a 2-year engagement, we had a lot of time.
Got it. Okay.
Which I think is also kind of where the problems came in because
Yeah.
we had such a long period of time that then these vendors did start dropping like flies.
Yeah.
Wild.
So,
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But it was a
but-
weird time for everybody.
yes, oh, absolutely.
So did you start with the same photographer that you ended with, or was that one of the ones that kind of fell off?
So I did. So the original photographer, I would say, was one of my very first mentors.
Okay.
I shot once with her, and we corresponded through text messages for a very long time.
Yeah.
And then leading up, like we met a few times, like halfway in like, I don't even know, Springfield or Columbus or something. And like we would like catch up, make sure like timeline and everything was doing good. And we were losing vendors like crazy.
Right. You wanted to make sure.
So I'd be like, all right, change of vendor, change of venue, change of wedding date.
Oh my goodness.
So
Yeah.
You gotta really want to be married.
yeah. I know. I
During
told
that
Brandon,
time,
I was like, when we're at the altar and I'm crying, it's because we're done.
Right. Finish line.
Yeah.
I do love you, bud.
Yeah. Not doing this ever again.
Oh my gosh.
But so yeah, my photographer did stay the same.
Okay.
She did get pregnant. She was not supposed to show up. And then, so she ended up telling me in person, thankfully, that she was not going to show up. She was going to send someone else to go shoot. It's called an associate shooter, which a lot of photographers do that. And if that's the way you want to work, okay, that's great. Personally, if I were to miss a wedding and it would be like way in advance, I had like 8-9 months to know, I would give them their money back and have someone
Let them
else hire.
find. Yeah.
So in lieu of giving you back your money, she said, I want to keep your money, but I'm going to share it with this person you've never met.
Yeah, and you're now gonna be with her on the wedding day. I had no idea who she was. I was not very comfortable with that. And at that point, obviously, photos are very important to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, I guess we're gonna see.
Here we go.
So then I ended up meeting with the new lady on the phone. We chatted for a little bit, and I did really like her. And she like sent me her portfolio.
Yeah.
Granted, it wasn't gonna be the same because my lady was gonna edit it. So I kind of had to do a little creative mind, like, okay, it's gonna be this style, but this sort of like type of photo.
Right.
So then she ended up our wedding day or a week before the wedding. Then my photographer emailed me and was like, actually, I'm gonna be there. And I'm like, all right, well, I just went through all this process with this other lady. I'm like, and now it's gonna be you.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh my goodness, as long as someone shows up at this
I know.
point.
Yeah.
You bring a camera.
Yeah.
Just get those disposables and give them to all your guests.
Yeah, that is actually becoming a thing. During the reception side,
Yeah.
they like take them and then get them printed. They're so fun.
They're so fun.
Yeah.
We
did that.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was a couple years ago.
That was a long time ago. Yeah. Not just a couple. But that is so. Is that who ended up showing up? Was the
Yes.
photographer that you had contracted with?
Yes.
Did she have her associate shooter there with her? So 2 photographers or no?
So she had a second shooter, which is what we paid for.
Okay.
And that's pretty normal.
Normal, sure.
Yeah. So the second shooter showed up. She was in yoga pants, tennis shoes, and this is like a winter formal wedding. And a
know
bubble
it.
vest and a athletic headband.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Fit right in.
Yeah. I was just like, all right. So I learned very quickly to send my seconds a dress code.
Yep.
Because I
Yes,
was like, I am not going to be, I mean, like, they're in the front.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, okay.
So conspicuous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the day of the wedding came, that she showed up, the second shooter showed up. Typically, you don't know your second shooter, and that's pretty normal just because they work together all the time.
Yeah.
I gotta say, every time I hear the phrase second shooter, I go to the. There had to be a second shooter.
The Seinfeld episode.
I'm so sorry. Keep going.
Second photographer.
Photographer.
Yes. The second person with a camera in their hands.
Yes.
Shooter.
So the second photographer showed up, and we started the wedding day. It was fine. I didn't get a lot of photos. Like, she didn't get any photos of my dress. She didn't get any photos of my sister's speech, and she was the maid of honor. I mean, like, all the photos we got from, like, the aisle are crooked because she didn't go in the aisle. She stood at the very end. So, like, you're getting, like, the heads of people, and, like, it was just really, really bad.
But you had been 2 shoots with her, right?
Correct.
Or 1 shoot.
Yeah, one.
So you've seen her work.
Yes. So
She was having a bad day.
maybe. I mean, giving her the benefit of the doubt. Yeah,
Right.
Very
Venus
well.
was in retrograde.
Well, it just, that I'm sure that was very frustrating. And you didn't know until then
Yeah.
you saw the photos.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking everything's good.
Yeah. Well, the whole wedding day was a little chaotic, but that was
Yeah.
also because of her. It was just like the
Really?
timeline was all messed up, and like she wanted me to get out of my dress after I already got in it to take a photo of the dress, and I'm like, it is on. It is not coming off.
Right.
Like,
Did she
It's a
get there late?
project.
that's what we don't know. That very well could be. Mom and I were getting hair and makeup done at that point, so we weren't really like aware of the time / where
Yeah.
they were. We just assumed they were doing their job somewhere.
Yeah.
They could be there taking photos of the reception.
Right. Or
Who knows?
groomsmen or
Yeah. So
Who
So,
is in
yeah.
charge of the itinerary? Is the photographer usually in charge of the itinerary or is the bride?
so it varies. So the bride should
Okay.
have zero responsibility on their wedding day.
Okay.
Besides
I
enjoy
was
the
gonna say
moment.
some people actually hire a coordinator.
Right.
Yeah. So that was another issue was our venue, first one, we were gonna have a wedding coordinator. Second one, they were gonna be like more of like opening the doors and like, like unlocking things and things like that.
Yeah.
But the first lady we talked to promised us a bunch of different things. She ended up leaving. So by the time we had our final walkthrough, some random lady came in and we were like, who are you? And she wasn't going to honor anything she already promised us in the previous stuff.
Dani.
Yeah, it was really bad.
So the rule is if it's not written down, it doesn't exist.
Exactly. And that also helped. Because now I'm like, we're writing everything down.
Amen.
Because, yeah.
So everybody has the same expectations.
Correct. Yeah. So thankfully, we
So
ended
you
up
learned
getting
a
it
lot.
worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we ended up having a space to get married and have the reception. And they wanted to do like a room flip. And we were like, with this many people in the lobby, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be like a fire hazard of some sort.
Yeah.
Like,
While they're flipping the
so,
room.
Yeah. So, I mean, because there was just so many people in
Yes,
the lobby space.
sure.
And so,
And it has to take at least 30 minutes, would you think, for a room
oh,
flip?
at least. Yeah. I mean, it depends on how elaborate your stuff is.
Sure.
But so yeah, it was one thing after another, and then I ended up getting my photos back.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, we got married.
I know. And
So-
yes, and I've seen your pictures, and I'm sure that you did your own magic touch to them, but it was a beautiful wedding.
Oh, thank
It was a
you.
beautiful wedding.
Thanks.
Yeah. Everything that you did was so special, the details and
Aw,
stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, so I ended up sending her, or she sent me the gallery. I was really sad. I sent her this doc that had a bunch of this needs fixed, this needs fixed. I mean, she would submit me a photo where I was blinking. I mean, I don't want to be conscious, but I mean, my eyes were closed.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't submit a photo with the bride's eyes closed.
Why would she even think that was okay?
She said it was artistic. So all
I guess
of
you
my
could say that about
things-
anything,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And that's what we kept going back to is, oh, it was just artistic. It was artistic. And I'm like, no, that's just not good photography.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, you can't. When you push the button, you can't always
Yeah,
determine
but
what's
she's
going to be
pushing it a
happening.
lot of times.
Well, that's my point. You
Should
don't
be.
send the ones that
Should be.
you know
That's
that
the
are
thing.
trash. You don't send those ones.
yes.
Right?
She
You don't
must
submit them.
not have had any alternatives.
Yes. And that was what we kept going back to. So I sent her this long list. And so she was like, well, in order for these photos to be fixed, like centered photos, like re-angled them, remove, like she sent me a photo of like a disposable coffee cup on one of my tables. and the disposable coffee cup was the only thing in focus. I'm like, I was like, what am I supposed to be getting out of this? Like,
Well, that's
someone
art.
have coffee?
Yeah, that's art. You could frame it about that size in a family room.
Oh my goodness. So it was just a bunch of like silly things
it
like
was
that.
Such a special day for the whole family, the bride, but the whole family.
Yeah.
You know. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
So a bunch of lessons out of that day.
But I was going to
Yes,
say, as a
100%.
photographer, you got to create your whole new business plan based on
Exactly.
your
your
experience.
misery of your
And
experience.
knowing that you would never, ever treat a bride and a groom or any lifestyle
Yeah.
shoot,
Yeah, no,
client of
absolutely.
yours that way.
Yeah. So
Wow.
the good thing about all that not so good stuff is,
Yeah.
I definitely was able to learn and be able to be like, this is what I don't want to be
Here's how you
like.
don't do it. Right.
So
100%.
everything now I'm going to do the opposite.
Yeah.
But I did end up getting my photos back after I signed an NDA.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they look good now.
Did
It's
she
just
make the adjustments?
Wait, you signed an
Most of
NDA
them.
because
in order to get those photos fixed.
for our listeners and folks at home, NDA means
Non-disclosure agreement?
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to tell you. We can't tell you who the lousy photographer was.
Exactly.
Well, right. Just so
But
you
I'll
know.
give you your photos. And that was
Correct.
the trade-off. You had
Correct.
to sign that to get it because she knew you were so disappointed in them.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, I mean, I could have taken the route of, all right, well,
All the reviews.
yes, exactly. And then I could save someone else later down the line. But maybe she just had a really, really, really bad day.
Yeah.
Had to be it.
So I was like, well, I really want my photos.
Yeah.
So,
We're not going to restage the wedding, so
Yeah.
let's go with what we got.
yeah. So
Did you have a videographer too?
I did not.
Okay.
No. At that point, we were balling way more on a budget because we lost a lot the first wedding.
Right.
Same guy. So
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
usually, at the weddings that you shoot, is there usually a videographer there? What kind of percentage would you say? Okay.
It varies.
I know there's always a photographer though.
Yes, yes. So yeah, it varies. I just recently have teamed up with 2 different people, and they'll come and I'll just offer a package whenever I
nice.
meet with a couple now.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, these are really great. We work well together.
Yeah.
So if you don't vibe with the videographer, it is just you're bumping into each other the whole day, and it's a little hard.
It is, yeah.
So
It
it's
is
very
interesting to
important
hear
you
about that
vibe.
relationship. Yes.
Yeah.
So do you subcontract a videographer, or does the couple that's getting married hire you and a videographer?
So we're completely separate
Got
just
it.
because of legal things, and
Okay.
don't want to open up too much.
Got it. Okay. I didn't know if you subbed them out. Like, let me pick your videographer, or let me introduce you, and then you hire them, and then you pay them.
Kinda,
Yeah.
kinda. I mean, I like have meetings with them,
Yeah.
but they have their own contract,
Got it. Okay.
and they work under their own name.
Right.
But when you book, you still get us both.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So-
and it just makes it streamlines.
Cleaner.
Oh, it is.
Streamlines it for
and
your
that's what I also
clients. Yeah.
learned with my own wedding was I had too many options. I was getting way overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So the fact that like I can be like, hey, this is my vendor list. I swear by them. I've worked with every single one of
Yes.
them. Like they would not be on my list if like I wasn't impressed with them.
Right.
If
And that-
I had a
yeah.
small list like that, it would have been so much nicer. I wouldn't have to have been going back and forth on Google and all that stuff.
But that is an extra blessing for your clients because that is a lot to work through when you're planning a wedding. Let's face it.
yeah.
There are so many choices.
Yeah. So
So that's a gift that you have to offer to them.
yeah, and I love doing it because it benefits me too.
100%.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like,
And then
we
they
work
get to go
together
online and give you fabulous reviews, and you guys collaborate in the future. And
Yeah, it's a win-win-win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a lot of criticism early on in your career about
No.
starting early or anything like that?
I mean, a little bit, yeah. So I attended Cedarville University for a little bit, and I was going to go into marketing.
Okay.
I was like, hey, I can use that with my business.
Sure.
I can use any business kind of degree, at that point.
Right.
So I was there for one whole semester. Didn't last very long,
I love it.
but I very quickly found out it's not for me. And my husband and I were getting more serious at the time, and
Yeah.
I was like, I don't really need this. Like, if you're good with me doing what I love to do, then that's what I'm gonna do. So
so cool.
Yeah.
So you are, not to brag or anything,
Yeah.
but you're the second female entrepreneur who did not do college that we've interviewed on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're killing it, and she's killing it.
Yeah.
And so
I
it
mean,
kind
really,
of
because you're now a full-time photographer.
Yep. I have been since 2023.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And how has that transition been for you?
Really good.
Yeah.
So I was getting a little overwhelmed because I kind of reaching that point where I was like, I just have so much to do and I want to do it. And so I had another like part-time job. It was a great part-time job, great boss. I mean, I couldn't have
Yeah.
asked for anything better.
You've talked about her.
Yeah.
I know you had such a great relationship.
So it was a blessing. It really was, especially during that time. And I was just getting to the point where I was like, hey, I can't come in. I just have too much to do. And I'm like, I'm really like hindering your own business now at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, this is gonna have to be my give you my 2-week notice and
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
good for her. Like you opened up a spot for somebody else to come in that
Yeah.
needed that job with her too.
Yeah.
And then you got to spread your wings
Yes.
and do your full-time thing.
yeah. So yeah.
So how many weddings do you take on a month? And then do you do any other photography shoots in between that time?
Yeah, so it varies. Every month is a little different.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll go from triple header, 3 weddings a weekend to just
A
2.
weekend.
a weekend.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I guess if you count Friday as a weekend.
Oh, yeah. I think in the wedding world it is
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
So, and then you have a double header, just Saturday, Sunday, which is semi-normal, and then just your normal one Saturday or Sunday. So it varies. October is way busier than like December
Yeah.
or January, February. March is starting to get a little busier. So I don't have like a set like goal really.
Yeah.
It's just kind of when I meet with my couples and I don't feel like I have too much on my plate at this point, and I like really vibe with them and like I know like the vendor or the venue and all that stuff and I'm
Yes.
like, all right, this is a really good fit. Like
Yeah.
I think we'll work really well together. Then I'll take it.
Yeah.
So the relationship is just as important to you as anything else to front the whole experience.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because I don't know if you've ever had bad photos, but if you look at a photo that is really bad and you had a rough experience taking it, like with kids or something, you look at the photo and you don't feel good because that reminds you of how you felt when that photo was taken. So if you don't have a good experience with your photographer, videographer, venue, you're going to look at those photos and be like, I wish things were different.
No wonder
Yeah.
they didn't last.
Yeah. so yeah, it is so important.
So there's a lot of photographers out there.
Absolutely.
There are a ton of photographers
Everybody
out
with
there.
an iPhone.
Everybody with an iPhone.
True, and they're really nice cameras
And
now.
they really are nice cameras. I know you
Yeah.
can do a lot with them. So what sets you apart? What makes it so that people just desperately want to work with you? Because I know you're starting to get to the point where it's almost like waitlist.
You got to turn
Yeah.
people down
Yeah.
now and again.
Yeah, so it varies. So definitely relationship. Top thing, I'll always preach that. There's a lot of behind the scenes that people don't know that their photographer would do, such as keeping on timeline if they don't have a wedding coordinator or anything like that. I have a wedding experience book. I send all my couples just a tons of like miscellaneous tips and tricks that you would never know
Nice.
is important. Like
Yeah.
an aisle runner, if you use it on the grass, make sure you put thumbtacks in so it doesn't hit the people in the pews sitting next to you, which has happened.
Wow.
That is good suggestions. Yeah.
So just like
What a good tip.
random things like
Yeah.
that where you would never know.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. And these are things that you've learned because you're a photographer.
Yeah, and
you've
I
seen them
wouldn't
happen.
have known. Yeah, I wouldn't have known or have heard about it from another fellow vendor
Yeah.
where they're like, listen here.
Yes.
And I'm like, all right, that needs to go in the PDF.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
smart. And so
I do a lot of
providing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do a lot of during the engagement session. It's a little bit more of a trial. So we kind of get to feel for each other. We get to figure out, all right, groom doesn't like this pose, doesn't like that pose.
Yeah.
Figure out kind of what makes him tick, like makes him comfortable enough to when they look back at these photos, they're not like they don't look like a
Cardboard cutout.
yeah, and it's just them. That's what they are.
Normal them.
And versus an iPhone, you just
Yeah.
you're just there.
Yeah. So you're able to set them up in poses that make them look comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And completely natural.
Oh yeah, we do a
With a
mix
variety.
of candid with more of a traditional pose at the same time because that's pretty important too.
Right. So bringing your experience to
Oh, absolutely.
to the day. I think that that's a big part of what what sets you apart.
Yeah, and even at the end of the day, if you were to compare an iPhone photo to a nice camera, they're still going to be different.
Yeah.
Well, you get to do some editing too.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
know? Here's a question.
got
Do you spend
such
more
a
time
nice-
shooting or more time editing?
Editing.
I would guess that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the
Typically,
shoot, you might be there 2 hours,
yeah.
3 hours maybe,
Editing 3 hours.
minimum.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but it depends on everything too, because I will never submit a photo of like a family formal and there's a huge exit sign right in the middle. I mean, that's...
Are you going to take it out?
Yeah,
Can you?
I always take it out. And
Yeah.
so you'd have like 25 of those photos.
Yeah.
That's a lot of exit signs.
That's a
Yeah. It's a lot to come and go.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say what program you use to edit? Or
I just use Lightroom
Okay,
and
yeah.
Photoshop.
Yeah.
I'm an Adobe girl, so
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's the classic.
Yeah. Yep. So I started
does
on
all
it.
the things.
So that's really all I know. So I'm happy with what I know.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And it's so robust. Like you can
Yeah.
do anything with it.
it is very true. Yeah. And I feel like every time I get on there, they're like, oh, update. And then there's something new. And I'm like, wow.
Another toy to
Yeah.
play with.
I'm like, this totally changes everything. Yeah.
I love that.
So which is more fun, the creative photo shoot part or the running your own entrepreneurial world business part?
Definitely the photo
I
part.
knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
That was a dumb question.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
everybody who has a camera thinks they can be a photographer.
Yeah.
And you're running a business. You have an entrepreneurial opportunity to be, you have to be profitable or you
Yeah.
can't keep doing that. You could be just that girl who shows up, hey, can I take pictures at your wedding for free? Yeah. No,
not
because
not
that's what
anymore.
people would love, right?
Yeah.
And so where did you get, if you're going to give somebody some business advice, like I'm a young girl, I maybe have this passion for doing whatever my hobby is. And what would you like steer them into from a business standpoint? This is off the court. This is not on the list.
I would definitely say find someone in your network that you look up to and you want to shadow, learn from, and they're okay sharing that information with you. Some people are like, no, like that's my stuff.
Right.
But that's how I started. Like I started just shadowing people just because they were so nice. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how well I would have done if I went to school for it.
Yeah.
Because I kind of hear that like really hurts your creativity because you're just trying to meet the syllabus at that point.
Right.
So yeah, definitely find someone that you look up to and you want to spend that time and figure it out together. And most likely they'll end up hiring you if you are really good. So it's kind of a win-win anyways.
Yeah.
So
So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can find somebody to help you cut your teeth.
oh, absolutely. And as you're figuring that out, especially in the photo world, you're going to start figuring out, I don't like shooting the way she's shooting, but now I know how to shoot.
Yes.
So I can edit it a little bit different or shoot a little bit different or use different equipment. I mean, there are so many different things you can do to make it you and not whoever you shadowed.
Sure.
Yeah, you need to have your own flair, your own
Yeah.
style,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
For sure. So when I first got in touch with you, it was like back in 2020. I had seen
Yes.
all of your pretty photos online, and we had this idea that I wanted to. I did a challenge with my Crunchy Girls, and the reward was a photo shoot with you, a lifestyle
Yes.
photo shoot. It was so much fun. I
Yes.
loved it. And I still see them using those photos from back
I know.
then. Do you
and
too?
I love
Is
that.
it so fun to see
I
it for you
followed
too?
all of them after it. And so I love seeing those pop up. And I'm like, wow, that was like 5 years ago.
Yes, she has gray hair now, and that's still the photo we took.
No, and then you've done photo shoots here with our team.
Yeah,
yeah.
our team
Lifestyle
has
shoots
had
and
these as well.
headshots here. And then you did a rebranding session with Lily just this
Oh, that was
year
so
too.
fun. Yeah.
With the balloons and the new colors.
The
and-
disco ball.
Yes,
Yeah.
It was, the disco.
Yeah.
ball. So fun. Well, Shelby was involved with that. Shelby's been a
Yes.
guest on the
Yeah.
podcast too, and she was involved with some of the balloon in the background
Yes.
and design there. But I wondered if you could just kind of share for the viewers and listeners what kind of sessions you offer, just so they know.
So I do your branding.
Mm-hmm.
I do just your traditional headshot if you don't want to go crazy like Lily, and we had a whole
Mm-hmm. Right.
shoot for
Yes.
it, which was so fun. Or just a bunch of like corporate headshots like we did for your office. Then we do seniors, and then I have family. I do those a decent amount, especially during the fall.
Yeah.
Right now is your peak family season.
Yeah.
So
Everybody
and
has
then-
to
Oh,
have
yeah.
pumpkins and hay bales.
in the fall
leaves.
colors.
In
Yeah.
the
The
leaves, yeah.
leaves, especially in Ohio. If it has like a 2-3 week peak window.
Yeah.
So if you can get that peak window, it's really pretty.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I do some newborn, not a bunch of newborn. Haven't really.
That's its own little genre, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm wanting to adventure into that world.
Yeah,
because I
maybe
hear there's
someday.
a lot of like legal stuff involved too.
Really?
Like,
And spit up.
yeah. Oh, I'm sure. And you have to wash all your blankets, and I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, it's a whole thing. Honey, we did a newborn photo shoot with a photographer that Grace knew, and it's a whole thing. Like she had this little vibrating,
Yes.
weighted,
Oh, yeah.
little miniature weighted blanket and all the sound
Oh,
things.
it's a whole beast
thing.
in its own.
Yeah.
It is.
No, totally understand that. Can you explain what a lifestyle shoot is though? Like what you did
Yeah.
for the Crunchy Girls? Because that is
Oh,
such
yeah.
that was such a fun experience for them.
Yeah, so the nice thing with all my sessions is it is fully customizable. So if you want to do a crazy senior session where we're having an electric guitar and smokes behind you, as long as you provide the smoke, we'll do it, or we could just do what I typically do on like my Instagram, in the fields, frolicking through the fields or something like that. So, I mean, I can go as customizable as I want.
Okay.
So with the lifestyle, I do really enjoy those because those are very customizable.
Right.
Which I have done a few with some of your girls.
Yeah, so they have their makeup and their
Yep.
makeup brushes, and
Oh, yeah.
then they use those in their marketing material, and perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, they're such Instagram-worthy photos.
Yeah.
and they can use
And like
them
some
on their
stock
story.
type, but more because you're in the background, like it wasn't just copy and pasted from the website.
Right, exactly. No, and
Yeah.
and everybody wants to brand themselves, and
Yeah.
this is a way to do that with.
Yeah. Oh,
The brand that
absolutely. So
they're
yeah, I really try to focus on like the day in the life of is what I say.
I love that.
It's
yeah.
just kind of like flowing through what your day would look like. So like when you're like marketing yourself, you obviously are going to know how to market that because you do it every day.
yeah.
So-
Yes, exactly. It's just your life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wondered about, what is your craziest wedding experience? Like from like
Aside from
you,
your own.
yeah. I was gonna say, yeah. We'll set that aside for now. But yeah, what's been your craziest wedding experience?
So it is a sad story.
A sad story? Oh no.
It is the craziest, but it is a sad story. So I want to say it was about 2 years ago. I had a bride and groom who did not do a first look. This was in the Canton area.
Okay.
At this point, I was just taken wherever I could.
Yeah.
And the groom ended up having 2 seizures. And so, yes. So they said I do. Walk out. Followed them out. I always turn off my phone during a wedding. Because I'm not going to be that vendor whose phone goes off.
Right.
Because I'm sure it has happened to someone out there. So I'm like, if it were, it would be me. So I'm muting it because I get so many junk phone calls.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Spam.
Yeah.
Yep.
So my phone's off at this point. They walk down the aisle, walk out. It's a really cute little church.
Yeah.
Take like 2 steps out, and he just like looks at the bride and just like his face just goes like blank.
Oh, my
and he just starts seizing.
Did he fall to the ground?
Thankfully, she caught him.
Oh my gosh.
But I mean, if he would have
Oh my gosh.
fell the other way,
Yeah.
I mean, it's brick. I mean, it was
Down the stairs then.
yeah. It was really scary. And at that point, my phone's off. So they're screaming at me, call 911. I'm like, my phone's off. I can't call 911. So then I'm like,
And you're the only, it's just the 3 of you guys.
yeah, them and
moly.
I think there was maybe some of the parents at that point
Okay.
that were right behind,
Yeah.
right behind. So thankfully there was other people there, but no one had their phone on them because they were all those people up at the altar.
Yeah.
So, and I'm very clear, do not bring your phone.
Right. Yeah.
So at that point, I did kind of wish I changed my role on that. But I mean, how would you have known?
No.
So anyway, my second shooter followed behind me, thankfully, and she had her phone on her. And so I was like, all right, we need to call 911. And she's like, what? And I was like, the
gosh.
groom is seizing outside.
Yeah.
So the whole wedding day totally was off. And
Yeah.
obviously the bride was beside herself. And it was,
Right.
it was like one of the worst experiences.
Did he get taken away by ambulance or?
Yeah, so the ambulance ended up coming. So I'm like also running through the church to find a defibrillator or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they have this sign on the wall that says, please call park office. I'm like, what?
Call park office like
To
they.
get the defibrillator. I'm like,
my
at that point,
My phone's still off.
Yeah, I know. True, my phone was probably still off at that point. But I was just like, at that
times.
point, like, what?
I know. Yeah. It needs to be
It needs to be there.
Yeah.
But he ended up being
So-
okay. Happy
Yes.
ending.
He did have a second seizure.
The same day?
Yeah, so they sent him away in the ambulance. He ended up coming back. They discharged him.
Okay.
He said he was fine. So he really
gosh.
wanted to push through, you could tell.
Yeah.
And then we were taking portraits, and I was not using my flash on
Yeah.
purpose because I didn't.
Yep.
No one knew.
No one knew why,
So
right?
we were
It's a
like, we're not
stress-induced
gonna.
thing always.
Yeah. So we're like, we're not gonna do any possible reactions.
Right.
So we ended up taking a few group photos at that point of the whole bridal party.
Yeah.
Thankfully, someone caught him again.
Dang.
And it was definitely a God thing because this venue required security there, and they instantly were able to call the EMT to come get him.
Oh, nice.
So I mean,
So you were at the
it was
church
just
first,
so
and then you were at
fast.
the reception
Correct.
venue. Okay.
I mean, there's probably a
Yeah.
good 3-hour gap.
Yeah,
With
for
3
sure.
or 4, maybe even
Kind of
more.
surprised that they let him go.
Yeah,
Maybe because it
that's-
was his wedding day.
That's what I'm kind of thinking. They
Yeah.
were like, oh, clearly this bride is
Yeah.
trying to get married. I
Oh
don't
my gosh,
know.
did she go with him or did she stay?
Yeah, she went with him. Yeah.
So then what did you do in between while you were waiting? Did
We
you
ate.
I am so hungry.
Yeah. We
What
had
else are you going
food.
to do? Like the families paid
I know.
for the reception.
Yeah.
You know, as weird as it would be.
I know.
There's really
and so no one knew what to do.
No.
It's like a Seinfeld episode.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, seriously, this has never been done before, right?
no.
Yeah.
But the other thing was, not everyone was invited to the ceremony. So you have about
Oh, the
3/4
reception
of
is
your
bigger.
people who have no idea what's going on. Why is this reception
Where's
now?
Brian?
Yeah, like 2-3 hours late.
Wow.
And so you can kind of hear see the
scuttlebutts.
people
Yeah.
like finding out throughout the whole building, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And at that point, my second shooter and I are just taking photos of people eating.
A day to remember
Oh, I know.
for everybody.
Oh, it was wild. Thankfully, the groom was fine. He was discharged like a few nights later, and
Okay.
he was good, and he's in great health now. But
Yeah.
we ended up having a redo of their whole wedding day.
I wonder.
Holy
Okay.
moly.
Yep, whole redo. It wasn't
Wow.
what she wanted, but at the end of the day, I mean, she was married technically.
Yeah.
Right.
So they
Yeah.
did technically get married the first time. So this was more of just a celebration.
Yeah.
So,
So everybody that had been invited, they came too?
yep. So the second wedding, all of the reception people and the bridal party all came, and it was just a little more low key, but it was so fun.
Yeah.
And you could tell like there was a lot more energy.
Yeah. And people weren't like not knowing what to do. Like
Yeah.
just that awkward, we have
Oh, yeah.
no idea
Okay.
how to act right now.
You mean I'll kiss the bride? And everybody's like, what's going to happen next?
Yeah. Thankfully, we skipped that part.
Yeah.
We just went right to ceremony. So it was just full party mode at that point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they needed a break.
They needed a break.
Yeah.
How much time in between the first one and the second one? Oh, a couple of
7,
months.
8 months
Oh
probably.
yeah, so a big. long
Yeah,
time.
it was.
Got
It was. Yeah.
They knew it was going to take by then.
Yeah.
Everything's all right.
Okay, so what's your biggest pet peeve?
People saying that they can just pick up a camera and shoot.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That is definitely my thing.
Okay.
Granted, I started really early, but I learned instantly not to shoot on auto.
Yeah.
So it's just like where you like select your own settings yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. I always because that's all I knew. Because
Yeah.
that's what my mentor was like. We're starting you on this. You are not doing the cheap way out. and
Which is the
just-
auto.
Yeah.
The cheap way out
Yeah.
is the auto.
Where
I
the-
think that's what we do for our camera here, right, Graham? Not anymore. He just
Job.
So, and you went to Dodd Camera for help
They're
from them.
great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, helped with some of the settings because we were getting some blurry spots in some of the
Yeah.
filming. And so you're saying that these are important things to learn and not everybody's going to know them.
in most situations.
Yeah.
So specifically weddings, you do not want to shoot on auto. You should not be trusting your camera to know more than the photographer. Because at the end of the
Good
day, you're paying for
point.
the photographer, not the camera.
Yeah.
Even though you should have a nice camera too.
Yeah.
That's very important. So in this situation, I'm
Yeah.
sure it's doing pretty decent. I mean, I've seen it. It is doing pretty decent. But if you just
You're
show
one
up
of
to a
3
wedding.
people who've
Right.
seen it.
So to show up to a wedding
Yeah.
and you're shooting on auto, I don't know. I mean,
Little
Right.
sketch.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns and color tracking and all that stuff where it's like you shouldn't leave your camera to do all the deciding at the end of the day. So
So how does a bride and groom choose a good photographer then? Like, how do they know if somebody's not going to be doing auto focus and whatnot?
they will
do they
not
not
know.
Okay. So are there questions that they should ask or?
So there's definitely, especially in this area for some reason, there's a bunch of scams going around with wedding photographers.
Really?
Yeah. So I haven't seen it as much the last 2 years, but about 3 years ago, it was like really bad. Where like they had a whole wedding group on Facebook where they would say like, hey,
Send us money.
yeah, this photographer hasn't gotten back to me and my wedding's in 3 weeks. Anyone else have the same problem? And sure enough, there will be 3-4 different people who are all booked on the same exact day. And they just didn't show up.
Send your deposit and
Yeah.
So they take the
They
money
take the
immediately.
deposit and they don't contract them after that.
interesting.
So it's very important that you see like you see like
A little extra money.
Him and Graham are scheming now.
I'm giving you all the ideas.
Now, do you have any kind of a guide for your? Okay.
Yep, so I have
can people
a-
reach out to you and get that guide?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Even
yeah.
if you're not booking me. And I tell all my
Yeah.
couples that I'm like, listen, like you need to get
Smart.
full galleries
Mm-hmm.
from your vendor or from your photographers and more than just one. Like we're talking like maybe a summer, fall, winter.
Okay.
So you see exactly what their colors are going to be.
Right.
Granted, there's going to be a lot of different things that come into play, such
Sure.
as your dress colors or things like that, or your venue if it's oak or it's a very pretty white barn. You know, it's all going to
Yeah,
make
it's
a
gonna be
difference.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they will be pretty similar. And you'll be able to tell that even by just looking at it. If that was the same photographer, all 3 albums, or they stole someone else's work and they just made a portfolio. Look at my
Just ruin
portfolio.
everything.
So yeah, I always
Okay.
share that even when I'm
Okay.
on the phone calls with people. I have a vendor list that I always send people
Okay.
to. I'm like,
Yeah.
these are great people. Like, I stand behind them 110%. I've worked with every single one of them on there.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty picky.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't just let some random Joe on there. So
I love it.
So we're gonna put some of her photos in the
Yes, she sent me so many pretty ones.
I did.
Yeah.
I
and some
overloaded.
links or availability
Yep.
contact
That's what I was going
information.
to say. We'll
Yeah.
definitely include your contact information. What's your big dreams for your photography?
I would love to open up my own wedding venue.
Oh.
So that's like
Brandon
an
know
end
this?
goal. He does.
Okay.
He's known that
I was
since
gonna say he
we-
knows now.
Yeah, he's known for a long time.
Okay.
So he would love to have enough land on that property to have his own disc golf course. So then I'm like, well, as long as you pick up every single basket before a wedding, so
Yeah.
we don't hear bunch of
decorate 'em.
chains clinking.
the groomsmen could,
was gonna
that
say.
could be
Like on
part
a
of
golf
their
course,
thing,
they do
yes.
that.
Part
Yeah.
of the
And
venue.
there's some of
Yeah.
them are so pretty.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
your venue is very important.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've shot in a lot of very, very nice venues and some very not so nice venues. Like,
Yeah.
it's hot and
Yeah.
it's July and everyone's just melting.
I know.
You
It's
might
no fun
maybe
for the
spent
guests.
like, like $200 on your hair and makeup and
Yeah.
you don't look
Melting
very
off.
great right now.
So what kind of flair would you have with the venue that you'd like to? Like more contemporary, more country, or something that could be switchable?
I was thinking a little greenhouse.
Oh, pretty.
And then on
like
another,
a glass house?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep. And then on another side of the venue, also having like a little white chapel. Because I just think that's so
get
classy,
remarried.
you know? So that's my end goal.
Love
but
that. Okay. Yeah.
we got some time.
Yeah, you have some time, but I love that you have that dream, and then you guys can just keep taking those steps as God
Yeah.
puts them in front of you
Oh,
to
absolutely.
that end goal. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're involved with the Beauty Boost of Dayton too, aren't you?
am,
We
yes.
get to this episode is going to air after our event tomorrow, but I get to see you tomorrow too.
Oh, do you?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, for the
yes.
Glam and Glow.
Yes,
I'll have a
that'll be
radiant hand
fun.
renewal station. Don't say anything.
I'm just going to be the load the tables guy. I'll be
So
schlepping
will you have
equipment.
do you have a station that you have set up at every event that Beauty Boost does?
So I'm a floater there.
You're a floater. Okay.
Yep. So-
Are you at every event though?
It depends. So she kind of got me like mid-season when I
Okay.
already had a lot booked. So she's like, this year, since I like came in at such a weird time, she's like, I'm gonna give you it all like a year in advance.
Okay,
So
perfect.
my goal is to be at everyone because they're
Okay.
so great,
Oh,
and I
I
love
cannot
shooting
wait.
them and the
Yeah.
like just the girls there. Their whole atmosphere is just so fun.
Oh, I can't wait.
So
I'm really looking forward to it. I was just wondering if that was another place where people could meet you.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
if they come to the beauty booth, they could be looking for
Yeah.
you at.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, or my Instagram website, or
Instagram.
my own website, or I am in a bridal show comes
Okay.
up at the Dayton Convention Center
Is that the
once a
one in
year.
January or February?
Yes, it is
Okay.
in April this year.
April this year. That's
Yes.
a little late, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is a little
Okay.
late.
Yeah.
But I like that because we're past that like Christmas rush and everyone's like starting to think of spending money again.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, 4
So-
months is a good,
Yeah.
good gap.
Yeah.
There's that business coming into play.
So tell us the name of your business.
Oh yeah, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
It's Memories in a Snap Photography. So it's been that since I started.
Yeah.
And I just spent a long time trying to figure it out and did a bunch of Googling of a bunch of photography words and just eventually pieced everything together and also knew I'd end up changing my name to get married. So I was like, Hoskinson, that's just really long for a name. Like, I don't really want that.
Well, and it's, you know, it is about you, but, you know, I think Memories in a Snap,
yeah.
I love the name of that.
Thanks.
You know, that's beautiful. So it's memoriesinasnapphotography.com.
Yep.
And that's also your handle for Instagram.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So
Yep.
everything matches. And if
Everything,
they go
yeah.
to your website, they can probably click those buttons anyways
Yep,
for the
and
socials.
Shoot me a message on there too. I'm
Okay.
pretty responsive. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Annie. Anything else you would like to add?
no, we covered so much.
I know. And I really feel like viewers will have a very good idea of what your business is all about and what you are all about personally. You've created quite a brand for yourself and you're
you.
so young.
That's the name of this game, though. That's what we're up to.
Yeah, super exciting. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for
Yes,
joining us.
thank
What are
you
they going to do,
guys.
babe?
I guess they're going to have to hit the subscribe button again.
Yeah. Like and follow. We appreciate you sharing Dani's episode with those that are looking for a photographer, whether it's lifestyle, wedding, or headshots.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Yay. Thanks so much, you guys.
See you next time.
Bye.
Boom. Good evening.
Hey, welcome. Afternoon.
Morning, whenever this is hitting the
8 a.m.
airwaves. Yes.
Yeah.
Another episode of
Living well together.
Big snag in these pants.
Big life in a small town. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm back. So, should we start over?
Start over.
Here we go. Ready?
This is a Terryism.